All right, buddy. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend television show with your amazing host, Ricardo D. Rice. And today, so everybody knows that broadcasting is something that I've kind of been learning as I go. And I'm grateful for it because there's no better teacher than experience. But when you have somebody with actual experience who's been in broadcasting for a hot minute, you definitely want to get them on, especially if they have a great personality and they're just an all-around great person. I'm not talking about today's guest, but I'm just saying. But of course, she knows I am. She's an amazing person, and today we're going to talk all about broadcasting. So without further ado, I'm going to let her introduce herself. So take it away, today's guest.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me today, Ricky.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
My name is Pennye Rogers. I'm CEO of the WCEG Network.
She's giving her professional voice right now. I'm not exactly sure what's happening right now, but it's all good. So Pennye is here today because we're going to get into her journey being a minority female entrepreneur and actually starting her own network at this point. We have a network at this point. So tell us about your background. Where did you come from?
Corporate America for 15 years. After that, I left there, and the rest is history. Serial entrepreneur.
What does that term mean to you? Because you've said, people say that. What does that term mean to you when you say serial entrepreneur?
Well, for me, I have several streams of revenue, several streams of income. I have several businesses that I've acquired over the last 20, 30 years. From anything from real estate investing, rental properties, you name it. I've pretty much done it.
Okay. All right, so let's set the stage. So we're talking about, and we got to tell your age, so you might as well get ready because we got to tell your age. But you look good, so we were going to tell you your age. You look good.
So and fabulous.
See, I wasn't going to tell her. I was going to let them try to piece it together, but since you want to tell it.
Okay.
All right, so let's set the stage. It is, 1980s, the early 1980s, and you are in IT-ish in corporate America. Tell me about that. What were you doing?
Cortron Systems, computer operator for a major company for the southeastern region. We transmitted all of the data from Wall Street in New York to all of our brokers that were in the southeastern region, such as your Merrill Lynch's, your Dean Witters, Sherman Lehman Brothers, you name it.
So this is like a high-profile situation that you're in.
Kind of behind the scenes, because I'm in the computer center operating everything through computers.
Now, this is the
telephone lines.
So this is the early 80s. So this is not a time where women are on the forefront of doing anything, or especially in the IT-ish field.
Absolutely.
So how was that for you to be in that scenario, in that timing?
It was kind of challenging at first because of being a female and then African-American. That was just unheard of. So it was a diverse area, but women were not in it. You had a lot of men, different walks of life, different races and cultures, but women, it was unheard of.
So how did you actually land in that position?
Well, I started off as a temporary receptionist.
Really?
Well, no, I came in before I was given a receptionist job. I was a temp. They were in the process of hiring someone, and I trained the person that they end up hiring. So when they were about to let me go, the boss came to me because my temporary assignment was over. And the boss came to me and asked me what did I think about a receptionist job. And I wanted to get to the computer center eventually. So that was my foot that I had in the door to take a job as a receptionist. And after that, I ended up landing the job at the computer center.
What kind of time frame are we talking about, from receptionist to computer center?
It took a few years, but not that many years. I would say maybe two years, and I handled it well. Thank you for calling Cortron Systems. How may I help you?
You still remember it?
Oh, yes, because it was one of those fields where it was given to my white counterparts. The blacks that were there, you could count them on your hand. It was only 3 black people.
Wow.
And everyone else was from another country, another race. And by the time, and I learned everything that I could sitting at that desk. When I was answering the phones, it wasn't quite busy sometimes, I would help different departments. And whatever the engineers were doing, I learned what they were doing. Whatever the administrative office was, I just learned every job that I could and how to function in that job. So when the job became available, the opening became available at the computer center, this young lady was leaving. She was a white female, and she had some difficulties personal-wise, and she was going to quit. And so they did everything to keep her, but she still wanted to leave. And my background, well, I was a computer programmer by trade. And that was my way of getting my foot in the door. So I told the boss he would travel from Miami to Atlanta. And every chance I had to speak to Mr. Peak, I would speak to him and told him my interest. And he would kind of just shrug it off a little bit. And when the young lady finally was just determined to leave, he told me, well, submit me your resume, and the rest was history. I made it work. And they still tried to kind of keep me at under the radar, kind of like, but my personality and just my willing to learn and me wanting to learn and to advance within the company and within the ranks, I did an excellent job. I took the early morning shift, being to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, and overtime every day, so it would be almost 6 sometimes when I returned home in the evenings. But it worked out for my good.
Okay, so you were in this space where there are very few African Americans in general, but there are also very few African American women, and probably women in general as well. So, but you're married, correct? So how were you able to balance being married and having this demanding job, which in essence you're trying to build a career off as well?
It really helps when you have a supportive spouse. If they are not supporting your mind, you really can't do what you really have to do because your mind is worried about your relationship. And when you have a spouse that supports you, travels with you, don't mind you traveling, being in all different types of atmospheres, scenery, just other cities, when you have those other outside issues, if your spouse is not supportive, it doesn't help.
So what did your husband do at that time?
He was a police officer.
Seriously?
Yes. And an FBI agent. Yes.
So you married to the feds?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. You never told me that. So I did not know that was. Okay. So wait. Does he still do that now?
No, he's deceased.
Okay.
Not through work though. It was cancer.
Oh.
Okay. The big C, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, as long as you're okay about it. All right. So we're doing this. We're moving along. You move up in the company. You end up in this position, and then it hits you that you should be doing something else. How did that happen? How did that work?
Well, I knew it before I even went, and before I even started working in corporate.
Really?
I just always knew as a teenager and as a young person in my 20s, I wasn't supposed to be working for other people.
Okay.
It's just something that is within me that you know it. You know it.
Now, we had this conversation on the radio about the different generations and how my parents felt, because I told you about, I fight with my parents all the time about, oh, you have 4 degrees, you should just get a job and just make, good money. I'm just like, that's not the life that I want to live. So how were you able to do that? Because corporate America is a 9-to-5 type deal where you're tethered to a desk or whatever, and that's what it is.
And I knew it wasn't me. I never felt comfortable. But I did what I had to do in order to make it and to survive. You fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
But it was one of those type of things. I knew that I was not supposed to be working for other people. It's not that I defy authority, but I don't like people telling me what to do. But no, I had that. I was always a leader, even in my childhood. My friends, people, they always followed me. They always put me out front. And so I was a born leader. I guess that's the simplest way to put it. I was a born leader, and I knew that I couldn't work for other people.
So when did you have that moment that it was like, okay, it's literally time to go? Because you're making good money. You're in corporate America. Awesome. You're making good money. You have the expense accounts.
Lord.
Like, you're traveling. When do you have that moment, as that defining moment where it's like, okay, this is all nice, but I am not following my passion. I'm not happy.
I just had this feeling on the inside of me, even as I was accepting assignments, being promoted, moving up the ladder, the corporate ladder. But then, there's a glass ceiling. There was a glass ceiling. And so I got tired of bumping my head on that ceiling. And I just, once the downsizing came, I volunteered pretty much to, let me go. It was one of those kind of things.
They asked? Like, who wants to go?
Well, it was eventually going to come. over a period of years, but I just couldn't fake it anymore. I couldn't fake it any longer. I knew it was something else I was destined to do, and that just wasn't it working for someone else.
Now you spoke on the show about having the two angels, one on one side, one on the other side.
The devil and that angel. Okay, go ahead.
The devil and the angel on one side. I mean, this is. I want to stay in this lane because this is a real life situation for a lot of people who want to transition to passion things, but everybody falls on this line. It's just like, okay, well, if I do this, what happens to family? If I do this, what do I do about finances? And like I said, in your position, you're making very good money and you have this lifestyle set up. So what was the defining factor for you that finally was the pushover, like, okay, we got to do this?
Well, once our company was being bought out by a large corporation, by Citicorp, just to let you know. And my husband thought I was asking him, could I leave? But I wasn't asking him. I mean, well, you have a spouse and you want to communicate and say, well, okay, what are we going to do about finances? But believe it or not, at that time, I was making more than my husband was.
I had figured it.
And so it was one of those things. I knew I wanted to leave. I didn't know what I was going to do, but he thought I was asking him, could I quit my job? But sister wasn't asking. It was more so letting him know my desire, and I didn't know what I was going to do after that, but I knew that it was something bigger and better for me. And I could not wait to the perfect timing, because it'll never be perfect timing. And if you're afraid, that's when you should go after it.
You really believe that?
Yes. You have to go when the moment, you're going to know that time. Like, when you fall in love, when you're going to get married. I mean, you have that you have to connect with your inner self. And when you do that, you know when it's time. You know when it's time. And I took that leap.
Okay, so the leap of faith is a thing that everybody has a conversation about. And you're a minister, so I really want to take a spin on this. That's always the conversation that everybody has. When do you know? And once you feel like you know, what do you do? So in your moment, explain.
Once you make the decision to step out there, you have to follow through. Because you always have that doubt. You always have that second guess yourself, and that's what you don't want to do. Because, of course, you may fail, but so what? If you fail, try it again. Or if it's not meant for you, try something else. And that's the beauty of it. You can write your own narrative, write your own story. You don't do what other people tell you should be doing. You do what feels right for you, and when you do it, you'll know it. You'll know it.
So when you made the decision, and I'm sure you told your circle, what was the response?
I received some yays and I received some nays. Those nays who you don't want to listen to, because they'll always find a reason why you shouldn't. The people that tell you, oh, you'll be good at it, even if they're lying. But you still have to believe in yourself. So you don't let other people define you or tell you what you can and cannot do. Because if you tell me I can't, I'm going to show you I can. That's just bottom line.
All right, so you leave corporate America, and there's a stint where you work in the church, and that kind of builds your community mindset. But how did we get to broadcasting? Let's get in. How did we get to broadcasting?
Well, just even working for the church, it really started back in the early 80s. In 1983, my pastor and his wife started their own record label, because the independent record label, because they were getting so much flack from the major labels. They didn't conform to the major labels, so they started their own. And they asked me to help assist them in when Faith Records was born, inception in 1983. And after I left corporate America in 1989, I already had a few years of assisting them as my schedule permitted. But once I left corporate in 1989, I was able to go full-time with the record label. And from there, being a representative, traveling around the country, dealing with radio announcers, radio station programming managers and station managers, getting them to play our music and my pastor's sermons on Sundays and then on their 24-hour gospel stations. So God was really putting me in place and position at that time. Little did I know that it was going to fast forward me into the 21st century.
Which we forward to the Gospel Diva.
Yes.
So how was the Gospel Diva born?
I was called, I was recommended by a friend. Someone was looking for an announcer and a radio angel to do their gospel segment on Sundays.
Okay, what is a radio angel for those that do not know? Because you had to explain this on the radio show.
Well, in the gospel industry, in the spiritual realm of the radio and television, we don't like to be called DJs because that sounds more secular, more music. But when you have a ministry, you're just an angel. You're a gift from God, and you bless people. You help people. You minister to people, whether you know it or not. Millions of people, thousands of people at a time, you may never see. But something that you can say, something that you include in your program may bless someone or may bring someone out of a depression, may bring someone may be contemplating suicide. And if you can offer some words of encouragement telling them it's going to be okay, it'll be okay. But you got to believe it.
You sound like such a minister in that moment. I just want to point that out. You sound like such a minister in that moment.
Thank God for that.
All right, so
I wasn't going to preach either, okay?
You know, I'm just saying, you got really close and I thought we was going to break out to a sermon, which I would have been here for. It's okay. I would have been here for it. Okay. And the cast is shaking their head, so they would have been here for it too. All right, so you get this call, you do a show, and that show lasts for how long?
Oh, wow. Sunday mornings, I was on the air from 8 a.m. until noon. So I was doing 4 hours of bringing gospel music, inspirations for your soul around the globe. Since it was internet, that was my little handle I kind of put on it. But I was playing inspirational music, and what I would do on social media in advance before my show, I would ask my network, what music inspires you? So I made sure that I played their music on that Sunday morning, something inspirational, and I would dedicate that song to them. And it started like that.
All right. So we fast forward, and you done that, and then you end up setting up an FM station.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
People that I met while I was on air as the Gospel Diva, we knew that we had a lot in common, and they were acquiring their FCC license to start an FM station, but the engineer knew how to do the engineering part, but needed someone to run the front office, needed someone to interact with on a day-to-day basis. And by me being an entrepreneur, my own hours, my own boss, I had the flexibility in helping them to build the station, show host, local events, remote events, and what have you. And from there, we just used both of our skill sets. He was behind the mic, he was behind the cameras, the mics, doing the engineering, and I was the front office person. And we knew that we wanted to do that because the places that we had worked together at 2 internet stations, it didn't quite kind of pan out because they wanted to just do strictly music. And then the talk that they were doing, it was a little bit kind of much. Being the professional that I am, I have to limit my dialogue and people that I kind of interact with, because if you're using profanity and other things while you are broadcasting, you get that kind of audience. And I wanted a more professional audience and wanted to relay a different type of message other than junk. I wanted substance and things to be able to help build a person, lift a person, speaking life into the community, speaking life instead of down.
Okay, so we've done all this. You've become the Gospel Diva. I like that name. So I kind of like that name. And then every time I say it, you kind of change. You shift in your seat every time I say the Gospel Diva.
Yes.
It's
that's
okay.
That's my trigger.
That might be your alter ego. You know, Beyonce and Sasha, you got the Gospel Diva. So that kind of works. All right, so now we're at the door for WCEG to be born. Tell me about that.
After starting the FM station, the format kind of shifted because we were supposed to do talk and music. But it seemed like talk was kind of being put on the back burner and the music was taking more precedence. And that wasn't what the agreement was. Because if you say you're going to do something, we're going to do. I mean, I'm a person of my word. And if I see where you're shifting, then I'm going to have to either shift or exit. And I knew it was time for me to exit.
Okay, so that exit, when did you know that an exit was going to walk you into your own sole entrepreneurship?
I didn't. That's why you have to, when you know it on the inside, or when you feel it, or when you know it's time, you have to respond. Because you know when things are not right. Say with any situation, if something is not right, you're either going to keep subjecting yourself to it and you're going to be miserable and it destroys relationships, or you know you can exit and still be friends, nothing personal, but I got to go do my own thing. And that's when I knew that since the shift changed from what the initial agreement was, it's like, it's time to go. But it was something that I was still always, never thought I would still do it on my own, still be my own everything, you know. When you have partners, it's different. Everybody has a responsibility and a role to play. But then if they're not playing their role, then you have to kind of go where you do what you have to do.
Okay, so you leave the station, and what is your first move? Because you've already made the decision, okay, I can't do this. God is kind of pulling me somewhere else. What was your first move?
Well, thinking already, I can do this. That was already kind of in the background for me. And so we talked about the little angel and devil on your shoulders.
Yeah, kind of.
One telling you, oh, go ahead, you can do this. But then the other side, you can't do this. You're a failure. You're not going to know. You're a fail. You don't know anything about the industry in terms of running the operation. I've always assisted. I've been behind the scenes, always making that person out front look good. All they had to do is show up. And when I do all the background work, I'm a good organizer and administrator. So I guess those gifts that I already currently that I have, that helped me to transition to my own. Because I took those skills that I was using to make somebody else look good. When I worked in corporate, I mean, you're making somebody else's dream come true. So when you're your own entrepreneur, you do your thing. You can do what you want, and you know how you want it done, and you go for it.
All right, so you tell the story of how you brought this one little boy. You went to go look around for equipment. You really didn't know what you were looking for.
I had no idea. Well, when it was like a split-second decision. I knew it was something I never thought about doing on my own. Never thought about that because I didn't think I could. And so you have to self-talk. And then once you know the operation, you see what it takes to do it, you're like, I can do that. It just came off like, is this all? I can do that. So I just told my dream. I said, hey, I'm going to go for it because I didn't want to stop, because if I had not pursued it, then the dream would have died. And so once you know what you want to do, you know you can do this. It's like, so what will I need to make this happen? Equipment, a team. Will change, and that helps.
Change? Some money. You need some money.
Because that's where some people fail because of the finances. And so I sacrificed. I put things on hold, stopped taking vacations and shopping and doing those other things. And I invested those same funds that I was traveling and shopping and living the best life.
Your best life.
Yeah, living my best life. I put it on hold until I can get this off the ground. So when I found out the equipment that I needed, I bought not the cheapest or the most least inexpensive, but I had enough to get me started. And from there, I've been gradually improving and increasing.
All right, so what is WCEG now?
WCEG, the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. That's what that acronym is.
I wanted to ask you that, but I just figured it was call letters, so I was like, well, maybe it's just call letters and doesn't
Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. And what but what we wanted to do to empower people. That's how the name derived. I wanted to empower worldwide, internet, global. And that was a platform that I know we could speak life to people anywhere in the world, under any circumstances that they were living in, to let them know it'll be okay and it's going to be all right. And we provided the talk, the format for it, to speak life, anything positive. We don't do the negative. It's enough negative going around. So we want it to be positive.
So how do you choose your shows?
Based upon human need and based upon people that are in those hosting positions. That's what they do for a living. That's what their life is entailed. We have a on-staff in-house psychiatrist. She does Mind Matters, Dr. Wenzel. We have a former educator that does conversations in education. We have retired veterans that have been through Vietnam and other areas of war and other military branches. We have people, whatever area of life that they're living and speaking. Our immigration attorneys, they help with the immigration issues, the misconceptions, explaining the law, explaining on a national level what it means for us locally. So everybody that we do the People's Choice for politics, everything from voter suppression to elections. We just have whatever facet of life that people are involved with. We have conversations about that.
All right, so we're down to the last couple of minutes. How does everybody listen in, and how do they get in touch with you?
We have our website at WCEGTalkradio.com. You can listen and also live stream through our YouTube and through our TV network, through our website, as well as going directly to YouTube under the WCEG Network. Our business office number is 404-490-8646. You can reach us on all forms of social media, from Facebook, IG, and Twitter, and Tumblr through our WCEG.
You have Twitter?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Not physical. We have to tweet sometimes.
Yes, we do.
Tweet sometimes.
The Gospel Diva as well as WCEG Talk Radio.
Oh, you got this two-part thing going. Okay. Nuggets. What nuggets would you want to leave for, let's say, for because yours is actually twofold, for a woman who's trying to balance and actually go beyond the glass ceiling in corporate America, and for a woman who wants to start a career in broadcasting? What would you say to those two types of ladies?
You have to surround yourself with people going the same direction you're going or already there. I use those type of people for my role models and for me to know if they can do it, I can do it. You have to believe in yourself. You have to stop second-guessing yourself. And you just have to leap. You have to take that, I think as Steve Harvey put it, you just have to jump and that parachute is going to open. You know, a lot of times we look at, the bird doesn't worry about the branch that it sits on because they know they have wings and they can fly. And that's what I'll leave with you today.
Oh, you're so profound. All right, everybody. Special thanks to Mrs. Pennye Rogers, the amazing Pennye Rogers, for sitting in on radio and TV today.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about you.
Who is that person I was talking about?
Thank you for coming in the studio today. And we will definitely be talking to you again and be doing some events with you, because apparently I'm coming over to the station on the 14th. Okay. So you can try to subject me to what I subject you to, but we're not doing that.
Oh, hey that.
We're not doing that. But like I said, you're not interviewing me, so that's fine. So we're going to make it work and make it work.
I'm going to change that. I'm boss,
good
okay?
grief.
But I just want to thank you, though, for inviting me. It's really a pleasure and an honor to really to be here.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. You know, great people in your circle, great people around you. Like you said, you fly with people that are flying the same way you fly. So I will see you guys on next Sunday, same time, same place, on the Leadership Blend television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.